Hello and welcome to my knitting podcast. My name is Irma and you can find me on YouTube, Ravelry and Instagram as Wolwerkjes. So welcome here in my space on the internet where I talk about all the things I make, mostly knitting, and I hope you will enjoy this episode. So for the coming weeks things might be a little bit different than you're used to. And I think the biggest part is maybe the content. I am a hand dyer, I dye yarn. And I think for the coming weeks I won't be able to show you that much new things. Maybe a bit, but my husband and my kids are at home because of the coronavirus spreading the world. It's a good thing we're home. It's necessary that we are home, but it makes my job a little bit impossible because I can't dye. I dye for my kitchen and I can't dye with people around. So that's the thing. Yeah, so just let's get started and we'll see how the coming weeks are going and if I will be able to record every 2 weeks. We will see all that in the future. But for now I have an episode for you. So I will start with what I'm wearing. I am wearing a hand knit for a change. This is the... Oh, I struggle with the name every time. I will put it on the screen. It's a sweater design featured in Laine issue 7, I think. I will stand up so you can see a little bit better. It has some kind of lace detail on the sides here. It's the same on the back and on the top of the sleeve. And it's a seamed construction. So you knit the front. Am I lying? No, I'm not lying. You knit the front, you knit the back, and the sleeves separate, and the sleeves are knitted flat as well. So I have a seam on the underside of my sleeves, and then you add the neckband and you put everything together and you have your sweater. So it's a pattern that's knit with mohair. By heart I say it's a DK weight with mohair, maybe. It could be a DK weight with mohair, maybe it's a fingering weight with mohair, but that is something you can look up. I didn't measure the gauge after blocking it. To be honest, I really didn't block it. I just started wearing it and washed it when it was needed, and I didn't measure my gauge after the washing. I think it's a little bit off, but I also think I chose a size that's a little bit big for me, but that makes it a really nice and cozy sweater, and I wear it a lot inside and outside when it's a little bit chilly, and I really like how it works out. I knit it last summer, I think, just when the issue 7 came out. And yeah, I love it. The mohair I used is the green you see. I used a different colored yarn and a different colored mohair, so you get a marled effect. The green mohair is from... Oh, I have a stain. I hope it gets out. It's on the underside of my sleeve, so no one will see it. The green is a mohair by Vilcolana, and I don't know the colorway by heart. I don't know if I have the ball band still, but they have different kinds of green, and I think it was like the forest green or something. And the main color, the natural color I used is from Hillesvork, and I think I used their lamb's wool, so that will be Celia or Philia. I think it's Celia. I think that's their lamb's wool base, and I think that's a fingering base, but it's quite a plump fingering base, I think, and it's woolen spun, so I think you can knit it up to a DK, and that's maybe why my size of the sweater is a little bit different than it's supposed to be. But I love it. So let's go on to things I'm working on. And while I'll say that, I noticed that I forgot one of my works in progress downstairs, so I will go and get that first. So I went downstairs. Maybe you can hear it by my breathing. Chill out. So I just went downstairs because I forgot to take up one of my works in progress. And while I catch my breath from running up the stairs, I will get the project out of the bag. So I did a lot of work on one project, and I will show a part that you've seen before. This is the body part of the sweater for my husband, and it's been done for a few months now. And last time I showed it, I started the sleeves. I started the sleeves 2 at a time. And I had a reason for that, because I wanted to make sure that my increase rate was the same on both sleeves. And I know myself, when I just knit one sleeve and finish it and then start the other one, I don't know how many rows was between my increases, and I could write it down, but I just didn't feel like writing it down. So I started the sleeves 2 at a time, which was fine for the cuffs. But as soon as I was working the color work, and I was kind of afraid for it, I already mentioned it a few episodes back, that it was my plan to knit them two at a time, but I didn't have enough yarn to make 2 separate balls of yarn for both colors, so I could work from a separate ball of yarn for my left sleeve and my right sleeve. I had to do it from the inside out and from the outside of the cake. And I don't know if you have ever done that, but when you're using one strand from the center and one from the outside, this one goes around when you take it off and this goes straight, and they get tangled. And I did it with 2 colors, so it was a big mess of yarn. And I decided after a few rounds that wasn't gonna work, so I did the increases for one sleeve, and before I knit that sleeve further, I did all the increases on the other sleeve. So I had all the increases done, and I just could finish both sleeves. So one sleeve is already finished. And I'm very happy with it. I'm only a little bit concerned. They still need blocking, so they will get a little bit wider. But I was increasing, and this is the point where I stopped the increasing. I fitted them on my husband's arms, and we were both thinking like, we don't want them to get any wider. So we both decided we will just continue straight. And without thinking, I just started to color work. And this will cover the steek that I have to do inside the garment, this little piece of knitting. So I just finished the sleeve and bound off. And when I had done that, I was thinking, but you want a little bit more room at the end, because you want to move in your sweater. And he still has like positive ease on this, but you still want a little bit more space to move. And in the pattern they said you have to increase quite rapidly in the color work, but I didn't want to do that as well. So I decided I will just leave it. I don't want to rip back, but if I have to, I have to. I will finish the other sleeve. I'm quite far along. I only have to do the color work part. I just started the color work part here. I will just finish it and we will see. Worst case scenario, it doesn't fit and I'll have to take the sleeves off, and not like, I'm not going to sew it completely before I fitted it before I fitted this on him, but I will pin it down or make something to secure it and he will fit it, and then I'll know if I have to rip back a piece of the collarwork and reknit it. I hope I don't have to, but maybe I will. But yeah, I've done a lot of progress on this sweater and it's almost done. I need to finish this collarwork. I need to stick the place where the armholes will be in the body part, and I will have to knit a neckline, and then it's done. So it's almost done. I did almost work continuously on this sweater until something else came up, and I was happy with this distraction, because although I do like the collarwork part, it's really fun to knit the collarwork part, I think lice pattern is quite thing to do. It's quite mindless, but because you want to keep the floats even in tension and not too loose and not too too tight, it's mindless, but not yet mindless enough that it's just knitting for the TV, for example. So I can do this for the TV perfectly, but it's not, I don't have to, I cannot watch a really a series or a film that really needs your full attention. So yeah, that's that. But yeah, I did quite a lot, and I think, am I going to promise? I think I will finish this before the end of April. I think it will be done. And that's really an accomplishment, because I think I casted on this sweater 3 or 4 years ago. I ripped it out at one point. I was halfway through the body and I ripped it out because my tension changed. And yeah, it's quite okay. I think I ripped it out last year around this time, so it took me a year to finish this. And it's not yet finished, so it took me more than a year. But yeah, I'm very happy with my progress and I hope it will fit. Yarn wise, there are cat hairs on there and straw, because yeah, it's sheep wool and not every mill takes out all the bits of straw that are in there. This is my last skein of white. I'm sure I have enough of this color to finish, and I have a full skein of the brown left. I hope I can finish it with just this bit of brown, and I have just a leftover skein I can use for something else, but I don't really mind if I have to get in that last skein. But yeah, maybe I have enough just by this little but it's looking like this because my cat took it. There's no yarns broken, I'm very lucky for that, but yeah, it's a mess. So this yarn is by Ullcentrum. It's a Swedish yarn company on Öland, if I say that right. I think I am right. They had a lot of wool there that was burned because they didn't use it, and they bought it all and made yarn out of it, and now they do that all the time. But that's how the company started out. And those are Z or G plied, depending on where you're from. Z or G plied yarns, which means that they are spun the other way than you normally do. So instead of clockwise, they are spun counterclockwise, and then they're plied together clockwise. And what that means for crochet, it can be really nice, because depending on left-handed or right-handed people, you twist the yarn in a way that your thread comes undone when you're working with it, and this can help people that have that problem. For knitting, which lefties and righties mostly do in the same way, because you use both your hand, there's not really a point in learning it the other way around. It means your thread gets a little bit untwisted while knitting, in my case. That is a thing. It doesn't come untwisted the way it sometimes can with crochet. It's just a little bit, and once it's knitted up you can't tell. I think it gives the stitches a little bit more volume by untwisting a bit. So I don't mind. It was in a sale, and I don't know if they still do the set plied yarn, but yeah, my husband chose the colors himself, and it's perfectly fine yarn to work with, and I don't mind the different twist at all. And I'm quite sure that when you knit with a single ply, that it's also spun clockwise, as this is plied clockwise, so it's okay, it's okay. But I thought I would mention it, just to be clear. Yeah, so this could be finished before the end of April, I think. Not the end of March, I'm not gonna be that fast, I think, but before the end of April should be possible. So, I said something else came up, and what happened is I joined a knit along. I follow a few people on YouTube, a lot of different people, a lot of different podcasts, and one of them is Arne and Carlos. The sweater I'm knitting is a pattern by them. What they're doing at the moment, because they're stuck at home, is they release a part of a mystery pattern every weekday. So not in the weekend, only during the week. So they intend to do it for at least 2 weeks and maybe a little bit longer. So you will have 10 parts of the mystery. And I normally don't join in knit-alongs because I want to choose what I knit every day myself, and it can feel a little bit like an obligation because you want to keep up with the mystery. I let it go for a bit because I can't complete a complete square every day because I want to do other things, and I have to do other things with the kids all day in the house. But I started to join, and I completed 2 of their knitting squares, and I completed 2 of the squares. They're just doing color work, but in the first episode of the knit along, they challenge people that you can also do it in double knitting. And I like a challenge, so I did the double knitting, which I think that's why it takes me longer than a day to finish one square, because one square is not that complicated. It's when you knit it just like this, it's just a little bit of color work, and I think you can finish one square a day. But because it's double knitting, you basically knit 2 squares at once, and you knit on straight needles, so back and forth, and you're always, yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with double knitting. This is attached because every time you switch color, you switch the colors from the front panel to the back panel, so that gives this effect. This still needs blocking, and yeah, it gives a really nice effect. I use just cotton yarn. I have quite a big stash of cotton yarn in just the basic thickness, like thin one. You have thinner yarns, but I think this is the most common thickness of the cotton yarn. And I did a lot of crocheted stuffed animals, and I'm not into that anymore that much because crochet hurts my hands a little bit more than knitting does. So with stranded color work, the problem is that cotton doesn't catch on itself like wool does. So when you knit color work in cotton, you get holes in your knitting quite easily. So, but because you're double knitting, you're not having floats, but you're catching the yarn in the other piece of knitting. And that makes it quite nice to do it with cotton, and they encourage people to use their stash. So I thought that's maybe a good use for all the leftover cotton yarns I have. This is the first square, and I'm already done with the second one as well, which is a snowflake or ice crystal, however you want to call it. And I did it in red and grey. And yeah, it's really fun to do. It's a lot of purling. For people who don't like purling, I think double knitting isn't really your thing, because you're purling every stitch you're knitting, you're also purling a stitch. So quite a lot of purling, but it's really, really fun. And I started the third square. As you can see, I knit on straight needles. I normally don't knit on straight needles, but this is a little bit too short to work on circular and too long for my DPN. So I just took out some old knitting needles I have laying around. I didn't want to throw them out. I don't use them often, but they come in handy sometimes. I'm halfway through this third square, or they're a little bit rectangular but almost square. So I have light dark on this side and dark light on the other side. And these are supposed to be the berries you get from roses. They have a special name, I can't remember that name, but those are the orange berries or red berries you get when a rose is, not every rose is doing it, but like the rose bushes, they give these berries. And when you search for their blog on their site, they figured out how they're called in English. I don't know the English name. But yeah, so that's the third one. And I think, when I remember right, they have done 5 squares now. They won't be releasing new pieces during the weekend, so I have 2 days to catch up again. And that's what I mean with like mystery knitting that comes so quickly, so every day. I want to keep up, but I don't want this to be my only knitting. So that's something. That's why I normally don't join. I'm going to finish this though, so that's really nice. So I've done 2.5 squares, but as you can see, it's practically like 5 squares in total, because you basically knit 2 squares at a time. So that's really fun. You can still join, of course, and especially when you just do it as a colorwork square, you can easily catch up in the weekend, or you can do double knitting. That's your choice. But yeah, it's fun to do something like that, and because it's all a little bit different at the moment, it's also nice to do something a little bit different in your crafting, I think. So I'm happy I joined, and I hope I can catch up this weekend. And I really need to block them. I think cotton always, wool gets nicer with blocking, but I think it's a big difference with cotton as well. So that needs to be done. And I have a few projects in mind, so I will show you that as well. I caked up one of my hand-dyed yarns that I'm going to take out of the shop. Not because they're not beautiful, because they're really beautiful, because those were a few skeins of a base I'm not going to have anymore. I will have, this is dyed on a grey yarn. I will have another grey yarn in the shop, I think, as a base. But this is a single ply, a quite thick single ply. And it's just something that doesn't sell that easily. So I just took out the last few skeins and I'm going to knit something myself, which is always fun. And the pattern I'm going to knit, I will pop it up on the screen over here. It was in my queue for quite a long time. I knew I wanted to use this base, which is a worsted base, so I was searching for a worsted base pattern. In this color I only have 3. I do have a few undyed skeins, so I could dye more, but I didn't really want to. So I was searching for a pattern I can use a worsted weight 3 skeins project. And I found it. This was in my queue for quite a long time. The name will be on the screen and I will put a picture also on the screen if I remember to do that. It's quite intriguing, this pattern. It has like ruffles on the bottom, and I was just curious how they managed to do that. I have some ideas and I think I will be right, but I just wanted to see how somebody else will design something like that. So I'm going to knit that. It's knitted back and forth like most scarves are. Some scarves are knit in a round and then you stick them, but this is just knitting back and forth. And I really should, I have the other skeins over here. I really should alternate skeins, as you can see. There's more reds like on the inside of this one, so, and there's more light colors on the other one, but there is definite color difference, although they were in the same bath. That's what you get with hand-dyed yarn. I should alternate skeins, but because it's knitted back and forth, you always see where you carry the yarn, because you have to knit back and have to knit 2 rows in one color to switch to the next color, and then you get like a bar of yarn on the side, and it's not noticeable for other people, but I don't think I want it. So maybe I will just start, and I think those 2 are the closest in color, and I will just add this one at the very end, so you get like a little bit of a fade idea with the same color yarn, but I think that will work fine. We will see how it turns out. I caked it up, I wanted to start, but my needles were here upstairs, 2 stairs up, and I was sitting downstairs and I just couldn't be bothered to get my needles. So I wanted to start this last night. I haven't, but I will tonight, I think, because I'm really curious how this will knit up. I knitted this colorway on a different base already, so I kind of have an idea, but every pattern gives a different effect. So I hope this will get beautiful and nice. We will see. And when it doesn't work, because it's a single ply that doesn't show like textures a lot, and there's texture in this shawl. When it's not working, I will knit the scarf in another yarn and keep this for another project. But I hope it will work out, because I think this is a really pretty color for a scarf or shawl. So that's the plan. And I do have another plan, because everything is cancelled, like shows and stuff. The show I'm vending isn't cancelled yet, but they put out a message on Instagram and they sent all the vendors a letter that it might get postponed. So we will see about that. But that gives me a little bit more time to knit some samples. And I'm thinking of knitting a sample out of this. This is a merino silk rami base, which is perfect for socks as well. And I dyed it kind of self-striping. Not completely, yeah, it's self-striping. You get 2 rows of the dark grey and 2 rows of the marled blue, and then 2 rows of the dark grey, and so on and so on. So yeah, that will be really fun to see how that knits up. And I wasn't going to put too much time in this for the show because I know I wanted a lot of samples and I just can't manage that before the date of the show. But now it might be postponed. Maybe I can knit a lot of samples for next time. So we will see. But yeah, that's also something I'm going to do. And those are the things I have been doing and want to do in the next few weeks. I also want to sew a little bit more, but that takes up quite some alone time, which I don't have that much now. So I think that will be something I'm doing when there's a little bit more time. Something else that was funny, I was looking for the worsted weight project. So I also went through all the magazines I have lying around at home. They're in one place, they're not scattered through my home. I have a few knitting magazines and a few of them are quite old and I've not knitted that much out of it. But it was really fun to flip through and there were a few designs. This is a Dutch magazine which is called Sandra. You can't see the name completely, but it's called Sandra. And when I was looking through, and I will search the patterns I really liked. When I was flipping through, I was like, why haven't I knit more out of this? Because there are really fun projects in here. I want to knit a long cardigan. I know it's going to take up a lot of time, but I couldn't really find the perfect pattern. And I was looking through this and I was like, but this is kind of the perfect cardigan I was picturing in my mind. So that's really fun. I also really like this sweater. And let me see. Those two patterns were also really nice, I think. I think this sweater has a hoodie, so that's also really nice. And this is like a dress. So good for me that I didn't throw it away, because there are quite a few really nice patterns in here. And I'm really thinking about knitting a few of them. So that's really nice. Also this one. I will choose a different color maybe, but this is also a really nice sweater with the lace on top and stuff. So yeah, I'm happy I found this again. It's issue number 1 from 2012, so it's issue January 2012. So that's how old this magazine is. And I don't think you can find it anymore, but I'm very happy I saved it. And maybe I will knitting something from it soon. So yeah, sewing wise it's a little bit on a break now. As I said, I'm quite okay on my knitting machine. I am on row 160, I think. If I can see it right. I'm not wearing my glasses right now, so I can't really see it. I think I'm at row 160. So that's growing quite fast. When I'm about halfway through, I think I will show it again, because you can't really see a lot of difference when I put it up every time. And I think that's everything I want to talk about now, and I hope I will be back in 2 weeks, but if I am not, you know, it's because of the situation at home. I hope I can make time to record. If it isn't for you, it's for myself, because it's really nice to get all this stuff out of my head and talk about it. So yeah, that's really nice. And that's everything I have to say, and I will see you soon.